when you're thinking, you're actually talking to yourself. Now, what does thinking do? As far as I'm concerned, thinking is meant to produce thoughts, it's meant to produce ideas, it's meant to produce plans of action. So when you're thinking, you're creating future reality. That's my new definition, creating future reality. Now, the principle here is that everything, which I use at work, everything is created at least twice. First, through your thoughts, and then it is brought into reality. So when my boss gives me an assignment at work, the first thing I do is to think it through, conceptualize it, before I now make it real. I make the mistakes up in my head, I refine it, and I now make it real. So everything is created twice. From Microsoft to Apple, from UBA to Dangote, from computers to airplanes, everything was first a thought before it was brought into reality. So that gives you some kind of background regarding my definition of thinking, what it means to think, how things are created twice. First in your mind and then subsequently in reality. Now, I'm also going to share 3 things, that's why I have number 3 there, 3 things about thinking before we go to mind mapping. Thinking is a skill. To succeed in corporate Nigeria, or even outside corporate Nigeria, you need to have multiple skills. And one of the skills that I recommend is having the thinking skill. Now, because it's a skill, it can be acquired. Because it's a skill, it can be developed from a low level to a very high level. Thinking is a skill. Your goal as an individual is to be an excellent thinker, to have strong thinking skills. Now, for me, what I have observed is the thinking skill that has separated one individual from the other. The thinking skill has distinguished one individual from the other. The difference between continents are the thinkers in that continent. The difference between families are the thinkers in that family. So that thinking skill is so vital that it is what distinguishes one person from the other. Now, if you meet a very important person and the person should ask you, what do you want from me? What would you say? Some people will want his wealth. Some people will want to marry the person's daughter. Some people will want to have his house. You want so many things from that person, but what would I want? If I meet somebody like the vice president, I meet Mr. Wale Adebayo, what do I want from him? I would want to take his head. Let him give me his head. Because if I take his head, I can get his thoughts. If I get his thoughts, I can create all the things that Wale has created from when he was born up to now. That's why you have the phrase head hunters. You are looking for heads to hire. Because if you get the head of that individual, the head of Dangote, the head of Tony Elumelu, you can do so much with their head. It is the head that is important.
So how do you spot opportunities? The first thing is that you have to do a self-diagnostic. We have to get to know ourselves a little better as adults. Ask yourself, what gives me joy? And you'll be surprised at the things that actually come naturally to you that give you joy. What gives you energy? What do you find that when you're doing it, it doesn't feel like work? What are you willing to do for free? In my case, one of the things that I always ask myself is what makes me angry? What makes you angry? Anger is what drives my passion. When I'm angry about a lot of things, but when I prioritize the things I'm most angry about, I figure out I need to do something about it. So you have to do a self-diagnostic. For those who are still struggling with that, if you have 1 or 2 people who know you really, really well, when you get home tonight, you should ask them a few questions. What am I good at? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? When was the time I really impressed you? When was the time I really disappointed you? You'll be amazed at what they'll tell you. At Leap Africa, we use this a lot. And oftentimes, when husbands and wives are asking each other, they actually get into physical or verbal altercations. What do you mean I have this weakness? But the truth is, if you're actually not good at something, and this, I often see this as well in the business world, admin staff who are disorganized should not be in admin. If you're not organized in your private life, please get out of administration. Right? One of our administrators lost the office key at least 3 times. I said, how can you be an administrator if you can't keep the office key safe? So think about, do a personal diagnostic. That's the first step to really identifying opportunities.
Educate your gut. Educate your river. I always say this, I'm an eternal student. Not only of creativity, but of life. But I'm a student of creativity. I'm a photographer. But when I read materials, I'm not constantly reading materials on photography. I'm reading materials on the river. I'm reading materials on creativity. I am constantly educating my gut. In other words, when I have finance available to me, the most precious thing that I can spend money on is educating my inner man. So, when I have money, I don't own diamonds. I have this necklace that it's probably like one of my only 3 or 4 that I wear. And it's from Zara. It was probably cost me like about $10. And that's it. So that I can say that I have a necklace. But I will spend my last bottom dollar to get on a plane and sit in a room with someone that will pour information on me. Do you understand? We must pay value on educating our gut. We must talk to our gut. I speak to myself all the time. I talk to my gut. I remember that when I started my business, I used to say to myself, T.Y. Bello is the most desired photographer amongst high net worth individuals. I did not have one high net worth individual, not one high net worth individual. All my clients are people that wanted photographs for free. But I spoke to my gut. And when I spoke to my gut and I told my gut what to do, I said, you will be the most desired photographer amongst high net worth individuals. And then what happened is that my river started to flow. And it started giving me strategies and ideas on how I would become that person. So tell your neighbor, talk to your gut. Okay, is this helping anybody? Okay.